Welcome to another episode of the Institute for Conflicts Individuation podcast. I am Dr. Lahab Al-Samurai, and today I have a returning guest and a very, very special guest. She is a playwright, she is a director, she's a producer, she is multi-talented. She's also a therapist. So without further ado, I'd like to present Elizabeth Clark Stern. Elizabeth, how are you today?
I'm well. It's really great to be here. Thank you so much, Lahab.
So tell us about this play. We're having a conference for all those who are listening. We are having a conference. It's called, Conflict in the Narrative, Facing the Shadow. And what we're going to talk about is what it is to understand why we are in the places we are, and why are we in the conflicts we are in, and how did we get there? How are we going to maneuver our way out, or how do we understand it? Do we run away? Do we face it? Or what do we do? And those questions, I hope to raise a lot more questions at the conference. I don't know if you'll get any answers, but we will raise these questions and many more to understand the psychology of what it is to be in conflict with oneself, with the other. So Elizabeth is with us today to talk about her play that she is with a group of cohort. Her cohort is presenting. What are you, juniors, seniors? What is freshmen? What college age are you?
Well, we're all, we call ourselves the Shrink Wrapped Theater Company.
That's all you have to say.
We are all therapists who also have a background in theater. So there we are. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So tell us about the play.
Well, it's called An Intimate Anatomy of Light. And it follows the story of Marie-Louise von Franz and her dear friend, Barbara Hanna, during the time, it's a flashback. It begins in 1970, actually, at a moment when Marie-Louise is trying to write a book she promised Jung she would write, called Number and Time is the ultimate book.
Oh, yes. Yes,
well,
I know.
What really brought my passion to this play is the idea that we can integrate the stuff of matter and physics with the unconscious, what we call spirituality. We don't have to live in a split off world where we say, oh, that's all that Newtonian stuff, and that's science and they don't get it, or, oh, those spiritual airy-fairy people. What happened during Marie-Louise von Franz's lifetime is that the physicist Wolfgang Pauli, who had a very intimate relationship with her, supposedly they never actually had an affair, but they had a strong attraction to one another. They had a meeting of the minds that was just ferocious. And his relationship with Carl Jung and how the two of them got together. And yet that was during the time of World War II. It was during a time of enormous conflict in the world. Pauli was Jewish. He had to flee Switzerland and go to America and teach in Princeton. And all of this rich story really has the background of what do we do about the polarities within ourselves and as such as they are manifest in the world. So it very much lines up with your whole idea of shadow and the complexes.
Well, yeah, shadow is our original teacher.
Yes, it is.
Is it not? From original sin, shadow taught us first.
Yes, there can be no, as my granddaughter always says, there can be no light without darkness.
And Dylan is both light and darkness. We will talk to her very, very soon. She is amazing writer, author, high school student, and also works at QFC. She's amazing that way. So Elizabeth, continue.
Oh, well, So as I began to write the play, I read all of these books, and one of the most illuminating was called The Valley of Diamonds, Adventures in Number and Time with Marie-Louise von Franz by analyst J. Gary Sparks.
Ooh,
This fellow, he's been to the Jung Society here
I've seen
and
that.
has
I don't have that
presented.
book. Why don't I have that book?
I
Okay.
don't know, it's
Okay, then I'm
wonderful.
going to have to take that book from you. Okay, that's very good. Thank you. Tell us more about the book before it leaves.
Well, and the book describes in very readable terms, much more readable, frankly, than Marie-Louise's book herself. She even called Number and Time indecipherable. And that was her big
Did that on
struggle with
purpose
it.
because Young asked her to do it. So she wanted to make it undecipherable for him to critique it. I have to keep thinking about it. I love
Even though
that woman. I knew exactly what she was up to when I read it. I was like, this is not helpful, but it's okay.
no, but he was already dead at that point, but it didn't
Yes, but
matter.
you know, they live on in the imagination.
They
It's
live
not
on, they live on.
live
Exactly. Our
on in the
heroes are with
imagination.
us
That is where they
forever.
are. They're both dead now, but we
Yes,
of them
yes,
was
yes.
yesterday.
But anyway, so what Gary Sparks does in this book is make it very readable, both the part of where Jung and von Franz come down in articulating the reality of the psyche, the reality that our unconscious mind is there, even if we're not aware of it, and it runs the show. You mentioned the complexes. Well, the complexes come, and often in our dreams, we see the bones of our shadow and our complexes in our dreams because we can't hide from our unconscious mind.
Wow.
And Pauli originally came to Jung with 400 dreams.
Mm.
He wrote them all and sent them to Carl Jung and said, help me, I'm a mess, right? And in their relationship, and then later with von Franz and Pauli,
Yes.
it became a collaboration of this is what the physics is telling us. This is the limitations of physics about what happens in particle and wave. And if you think of particle and wave, it's all this wavy state of being that we all live in that manifests itself as matter. But it's all one, what Jung called the unus mundus.
That is correct. Yes.
With the world of the psyche.
Yes. And that that physics and Carl Jung's physics is actually now telling us exactly what Carl Jung was guessing the world looked like.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the big point to me, and that what I highlight in the play, apparently this was true, that Jung and Pauli knew this. They knew there was this deep integration of the oneness. But Pauli especially was terrified to talk to his colleagues about it in the physics world. They would mock him. They would say, oh, that's that Jungian, woo-woo stuff. And it would delegitimize him and jeopardize his standing in the world of physics. By the same token, Carl Jung was afraid to talk about it because in his world of psychology, they were already calling him a woo-woo and, oh, you're not behaviorally oriented or whatever, that people are still saying to this day. But the moral implications, just think about it for a second. If all the politicians up there that are just creaming each other to pieces right now, and we feel the tension of this polarization in our whole country and in our politicians, if somebody could really show them, wait a minute, we are one, which means that our actions, our moral actions, have incredible ramifications in the world itself, in things like the military-industrial conflict, and wars and all of this. If they were taught this from the time they were children, we would live in a different world, would we not?
So I wanted to get to your first point. You made a lot of points, but I want to get to your first point. So there are four fundamental forces in physics.
Yes.
They're the four fundamental forces. The strong force is one. There is the weak force. There's two. There is electromagnetic energy, and the fourth today is not my day. What is today? Let's go back. So, let me just read a little bit. The roast settles down. So, what he says is look around and spot some of the many forces, push and pulls, acting on various objects. Mary lifts a cup, a leaf flutters in the breeze, an apple falls to the ground, an airplane lifts into the air, a beef roast settles down against a spring scale. Surprisingly, all such combos can be traced to just two, gravity and electromagnetism. So what's interesting is that what Jung talks about in the unconscious is now being explained by quantum physics.
Right.
Telling us about the four fundamental forces. Why am I forgetting the fourth? This is very strange. The fourth is the unity one. The fourth is gravity.
No, but see, that is exactly parallel to number theory. Number and time is about how numbers correspond to the physical world and the world of the soul and the psyche. And the four is wholeness. It's the quaternity, right?
It's
It
the
is
fourth.
each of your four elements of physics. It is earth, air, fire, and water.
Yes, correct.
Right.
It is that, and it's also queen, lover, warrior, and magician.
Yes.
It's represented over and over again. The reason I was reading quantum physics is because of the archetypes.
Yes,
Because I've been fascinated that the archetypes exist in a way, fundamentally, they exist in a way that they organize how we organize self
yes,
with everybody around us.
yes.
And that through the archetypes, if you just stare at somebody for a little bit and see their archetype, you could tell which way they're going to go, how they're going to order beer, what they're going to order from menu,
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
how they're going to hit on stranger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, in a lot of ways. So part of I'm fascinated by. I saw the movie. I don't know if you saw it. Dangerous Method.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So in that movie, there's a scene where Jung is working on the association test and lag in the association test. And now I use that to teach my students how to identify complex.
Ah. Yeah. Yeah.
With the delay. I say, oh, wait, there's a delay. They're like, how do you do tactile samurai? I said, because they needed 5-6 seconds. Everybody needs a second.
Yeah.
Do they need seconds on that? They don't need 6 seconds, do they? And
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, you're right, tactile samurai. I said, this is how they created the lie detector.
Yes. Oh, I know. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Our bodies and our energy are the energy of
One.
psyche and physics. Psyche
Yes.
and physics combined. Yes.
Yes.
They're one. Absolutely.
So continue with von Franz.
Well, and one of the implications at the beginning of the play, her friend Barbara Hanna is saying, well, why is this book so hard to write? And she said, oh, I just can't put it in the language of physics. I see it as like a scientific energy within us that wants our wholeness. But that's not enough. How do I explain it? And she says, well, write it like a fairy tale.
A scientific energy.
And of course,
That
von
means
Franz.
the wholeness.
Yes, and von Franz was the queen of writing about fairy tales. That's how most of us think of her.
Yes.
And she does this, and it's a way of telling the audience at the beginning how, the bare bones of this really are, we get to the three, and the three can see the split in the two. The two is the split. The two is Trump and Biden. It's China versus Iran. It's whatever is going on in the world and within us. And Barbara Hanna says in a little girl voice, she says, well, oh, you mean like, I can't understand that. I'm just a child. And von Franz says, okay, in your language, the blue fairy and the scary monster. And then a couple of lines later, she says, and then comes the four.
Mm.
The four is the wholeness beyond the three, so that the blue fairy sees that there's a scary monster inside of her, which is the shadow, right?
Yes.
If we can ever own our own shadows, then she sees the scary monster differently. She doesn't bop him over the head, and she's not so frightened of him because she says, oh, just like me.
Mm.
If you look at anybody, truly, we all want attention. We all want to be valuable. We all want to have as many people come to our funeral as just paraded beyond the casket of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was the most beloved. The most beloved. We all want to be most beloved. So we can look at people on the other side, the way she did Antonin Scalia. Yeah.
It's the infant who the mother looks at with eyes of love and infatuation and say, how did I,
where did you come from? I kept saying to my babies, where did you come from?
Over again.
I know. It is
That's
such a
always about
miracle.
the baby.
Yes.
I was describing something to one of my students today. I said, what does anybody want? She was telling me that the client was an alcoholic. I said, yes, because this baby cried and cried and cried and then was satisfied, but then had to cry and cry and cry again.
Yes.
This baby grew up and said, I don't have to cry forever. This is great. I could just drink. And that way I have to never cry.
Yeah.
I said, that's the problem. The problem is the damage is very early. It doesn't start.
Very early. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't start late.
No.
So Van Frans, I love Van Frans. Personally, I think she is, I cried when she died because I thought I had maybe an opportunity in this weird world to maybe sit in front of her and talk. But it was very hard for me. I saw it in the New York Times. Sarah actually brought it for me. And I read it with deep, deep sorrow. And when she hung up, I think her assistant was sitting next to her. And he said, what's wrong? She goes, my husband loved this woman. And they show a picture of her at 93.
Yes.
And yes. What's wrong with your husband?
Well, I think that fellow was a little clueless.
Oh, he's just young.
Yes, he was young.
Yes, that is.
We are all young.
that is the privilege of being young in the world.
Well, and as the older we get, and maybe I speak for myself in my 70s,
yes,
the younger I feel inside, and the sillier I feel.
I always feel you're young. I don't.
You seem very young, Laha.
When I talk to you, I always enjoy it because you are full of life and express it in an unconditional way, and that is always a beautiful thing to have. It's always good to have people who express life in an unconditional way. So, who's in this play with you?
Anne Blake plays Barbara Hannah. I play Von Franz. It's quite a challenge, and
yes.
I get very nervous.
We have to talk some more. I want to hear some of. I want to hear you quoting her. See how close you are. I hear her in my head, so I want to hear you in my head.
Okay. I have a dream. I'm Von Franz. I have been dreaming that I'm standing on a precipice, looking out, and there's this swirling world of women and men with all of their jealousies, their pettiness, their violence, their pain and suffering. And I see a blue light coming up from within them, not separate from them, but within them. And Barbara Hannah says, what is the blue light, God? And I say, oh, some would use that language. some would say it is a scientific energy within us that wants the full development of our soul.
You know, she has a great line I think I would like you to use if you can. Just
Which one?
the one about searching for gold nuggets and shit.
Oh, searching for gold nuggets in shit.
Yes, searching for gold and shit. She
But
talked.
that's the shadow.
Yes,
The shadow is the shit.
yes, but you have to quote her on it. I used to quote her all the time. They're like, "Who is this nutcase?" I was like, "That's Von Franz, and you don't understand looking for gold and shit."
Yeah. Oh, that's so graphic. Well, and she used to talk about the shadow as we are,
Yeah, I don't
we
know.
are louse. She said, we are
Like
louses.
really Swiss.
Yo.
Like she cut to the bone right away.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you
Yeah.
have a weird walk. You walk sideways. Like Swiss people say that like as a matter of fact. They're not criticizing you.
Yeah.
They're not making fun of you. They're just telling you this is how they. Yeah. So it's always funny for me when I talk to the Swiss. I say, "Why are you so Swiss?" They go, "Because we're Swiss." I said, "Really? But why are you Swiss?" And they go, "Because we're Swiss." I said, "Well,
So was that okay as Von Franz?
I thought this is interesting. I need you to read more to me."
Well, watch the play. I sent it to you.
Sorry, I know I'm manipulating you right now, but it's okay. You could read more to me. I have a special book of Von Franz's you could read to me. No, just kidding. Anyway, so if you have time.
Oh, and the other people in the play, okay, to get back to your question, Tim Nelson plays Wolfgang Pauli, the physicist, very central character. Robert Bergman plays Jung. He is a character in it.
Yeah.
And we have one fictional character. Her name is Jewel.
Yeah.
And since the play takes place in 1970, she is a fictional character who knocks on the door at the beginning of the play because her brother died in Vietnam. She hates America now, hates her father for making her brother go to war. And she stumbled through these farm fields where these people have all these dog-eared books by this man named Carl Jung. And they sent her to the home of Von Franz and Barbara Hanna, saying maybe they can help you see the world in a different way, that it's not just all terrible, even in your own country. So when she comes in and tells her story, Barbara Hanna and Marie-Louise Von Franz, her nickname is Marlus for Marie-Louise. So Marlus says, come with me into my imagination and we will tell you how we got where we are and what the world looks like from our perspective. And so that's the whole breadth of the play. But we do touch on one thing that may be very either controversial or raise some pain in Jungians, because we do a whole scene with Jung about to get on the train to go to Germany to meet with Hitler.
To accept the head of the Analytics Association?
Well, he did that later, but early on, his own writings were...
Did he meet Hitler face to face? I don't remember this part. Does he?
Well, he wrote, and we quote some of his lines in the scene, where he wrote that, well, I'll look at the script. Now you've got me rattled.
Rattling is my job, by the way.
Eventually, yeah, I know. Eventually, toward the end of the war, he changed his mind.
But then Hitler.
Jung did change his mind. He did realize, oh my God, this man is a monster.
Hitler, though.
Thank goodness he did.
He
Yeah,
did?
she said he changed his opinion and he wrote that the Nazis are horrible people, and he was on the Nazi death list at the end of the war. Thank God.
That I know, but did he ever meet Hitler?
I believe he did. I believe he went to Berlin.
I don't think there's any basis in fact in that.
Well,
I have read extensively. I've never stumbled about.
This doesn't say that he met Hitler. It says he went to Berlin. Okay, he did.
Oh no, I know he did meet with Berlin. I know he did.
And I think Goring was his cousin or something.
I know he met Nazis. I do know that he tried to. My understanding was he was trying to help the Jewish analysts and psychologists out, and that he did that for quite a few of them. He helped them, he smuggled them out.
Well, ultimately, he did. Once he, and this happened to a lot of people early in the war, right?
You mean in the early days of Trump?
Yes.
Yeah.
That some people were still giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, they were pretending that he
Because
was.
I think there is a definite parallel, and that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons this
Oh,
is in the play, right? But he wrote things like filthy Jewish psychiatry was something that Jung wrote. It's a quote. And the Aryan unconscious has a higher potential than the Jewish. He wrote those things. Again, very early in the war. But the point of it is that not only did he change his mind, but that this was Jung's shadow, and it was coming from a place of inflation.
Yeah, not to
Right.
defend him in regards to the alien thing. I think this is a.
It comes from, and I did a lot of research on this.
No.
And
I
it
don't
comes from the
doubt
Norse warrior king Wotan, and
I
he
don't
thought
doubt
that.
you. I have not heard these, but I don't doubt you.
Yeah,
But what I do think of Jung is that well, he says a lot of things about Africa that are obnoxious.
yeah, that
He says
are
a lot of
racist.
things
Yeah,
about the Americans that are obnoxious
yeah,
and insulting. He says a lot of things about Aborigines that are obnoxious and insulting. He says a lot about a lot of people that are obnoxious. But here's my thinking process. I think that in all human beings, especially where you are, where you sit, if you sit on the throne,
yeah.
you think other people underneath the throne don't belong. So if you're blue-eyed and blonde, you feel like anybody who's not blue-eyed and blonde don't belong. If you are black hair and brown eyes, you might feel like they don't belong, because this is an inflation of self.
Yeah, right.
This
Yeah.
is an inflation of, oh, I am so much better than you. I have friends in Switzerland, and I have a mixed bag of friends. I have friends who are very empathic and very down to earth. The thing that I respect about the Swiss is that they're straightforward.
Yeah.
You always know where you stand with them. You don't have to like, oh, are they being nice to me? No, they don't fuck around. They tell you exactly what they think.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. For me, I appreciate. I'm like, okay, that's much better than pretending you like me and pretending to be interested and you think I suck.
But the thing I think about inflation, about understanding it in the world and in
Inflation in
itself.
terms of not being able to be human.
Yeah, well, see.
Inflating yourself beyond that which makes us all.
Well, and that's what Hitler did. Hitler made himself a god.
Yes, of course he did. Yes,
and so did all those, Nero and Caligula and all those horrible Romans. They were all like that.
Oh, so is our bitch.
Yes.
What's he doing? He's doing the same goddamn thing.
Oh God, yes. I know.
I mean, it's like a replay of history. The only
Yes.
The only thing that makes me feel good is they always lose. Like throughout history, they have always lost. They have.
Do you promise? You promise he's going to lose?
Well, goddess promises. The goddess of magic, Hector will.
That's what I thought last time, and I got snickered.
No. I think last time. I really think that election was stolen, but I think they will lose. I don't know how. Something is not going to go their way. I still think the Russians are going to be involved. I still think, but something is just not going their way because he is already anticipating it. Why? So you have the FSB, you have everybody working for you to become the next president of the United States when we know you're a Russian agent. It's okay. We have figured that out. We figured it out. I think the Republicans have figured it out too. No? Did you read the files that were released by the Republicans from the Mueller report?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the
statement, quote unquote. Look this up. The statement is, it's scary how much connection between and coordination between the Trump campaign and Moscow.
I know. I
That's the
know.
quote
It's
unquote
horrible. But
quote
listen,
for all of them.
Lahab, you and I are preaching to the crowd here. That's the
I
problem.
hope I'm preaching to another crowd.
As in Nazi Germany, there were all those people that were just gaga over Hitler. They all drank the Kool-Aid. They all believed it. Oh, he's going to save Germany, blah, blah, blah. And that's what worries me about what's going on now, that there are still so many people that would listen to you and me and go, oh, they're bad. The way that we say, oh, they're wrong. We may not say they're bad, but we certainly say they're wrong. We have
No, I
to
think
take a
I think
stand.
fascists are bad. No, I don't. I have a problem with them. I have a problem with them locking up kids on the border. I have
Oh,
a problem
God.
with
Oh, I
protesters.
know. Yeah.
No, I think the
Horrible.
signs are already there. I don't doubt you. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Signs are very clear. There's nothing about the signs currently that show any other indicator.
Right.
They were doing hysterectomies
Right. Right. I
in
know. I
detention
know.
centers.
I
What the
know.
fuck is that?
It's like the
It's
Nazis.
like the Geneva Convention has been thrown out.
Yeah.
The Nuremberg trials have been thrown out. And
Yeah.
now you can feel like free to, what is, no, this is not America. What is this? I don't know. Who is this guy? And he doesn't seem to me to be very human.
No. Well,
He seems
his
to me
human,
like a
but you know,
skinwalker.
we were talking earlier about Donald Kalshed, Tom Singer, who is a Jungian analyst, you
Yeah.
know,
I know as well.
marvelous man, came to the Jung Society. And he was talking, he has a chapter in the book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, which
Yeah.
now has come out with the second volume, which is psychiatrists and psychologists all over the world, some of them Jungians, writing about the psychology of Donald Trump. And Tom Singer said, look, from everything we can understand, Trump had this horrible authoritarian father, right? And so he was under the stamp, under the foot of this narcissistic, cruel man, much like Hitler. Hitler was almost beaten
that
to
he
death as a
internalized,
child, you know?
that he internalized, and now he is that character.
Exactly. So I think underneath this man that you say he's barely human is a little bitty boy, is a little tiny boy in there with his blonde hair going, just love me, just love me.
100%.
Oh,
The problem is this little boy has future of world in his hands.
I know.
Have that much power.
I know. So we must vote. We must take a stand. We must do what your conference is doing, addressing the shadow.
We have
But we must also own the shadow in ourselves, because that we can do. That we can do.
100%. We have shadows all over the place. We have shadows. We project them all over the place. And we don't like to take ownership. We don't like to say, we could be just as fucked up. We could be just as angry. We could be just as motivated.
Right.
I have to say, Elizabeth, I have to say very clearly, in a lot of ways, this, and I don't know what your thinking process is, but I wanted to ask you. This feels to me, psychologically, from a perspective of my own, I'm not going to even bring up Young, from my own perspective, of history, and as a student, as somebody who teaches, as somebody who thinks, this feels to me like a replay of the Civil War. And what it feels like is that what was defeated was not.
Yes.
And they weren't held accountable for the horrendous atrocities they committed against these people.
Yes.
The African Americans were not freed.
No.
They suffered, they still suffer. And the people on the other side felt like, oh, we lost the war by a technicality.
Yeah.
And they were accommodated in the US government to control this country.
Yes.
That needs to go.
Yes.
Because basically what this feels like to me is a coup d'etat. It feels like coup d'etat. First, let's get rid of all the bureaucracies because now they can't slow us down. Let's get rid of everything that we cannot enforce control from.
Yeah.
let's take away taxes from all rich people and use the IRS as a weapon against all those others, because we have to keep a functional state. I mean, you still have to pay your taxes. You're a sucker, but it's you. It's not me.
Yeah.
Oh, your children died in Afghanistan, sucker. That's what he says over and over and over and over again.
So I think I agree with you 100%. And I think the question I'm grappling with is this the madness of King George?
No.
Is this just one wacko guy?
No.
Or is it a much larger picture? We know he's in cahoots with the Russians, probably the Chinese and the Koreans, the North
No, the Chinese, here is the Chinese perspective, which is very simple. He's a moron.
Yes, yes.
We'd rather have him than anybody else. He is going to take down America single-handedly.
He has done that. He is doing that.
Whatever he can threaten us with is bullshit, because we know what makes him tick, which is money.
Yeah.
We keep giving him patents for things, stupid things nobody buys, that have your daughter's name on them or your son's name on them.
Yeah.
3 days of the National Convention, the Republican so-called National Convention, 3 days of white nationalism. Okay, so when you have this, let's explain to the viewers or to the listeners, let's explain it very, very directly. When you have 3 days of people talking about a certain people being in charge of everybody else, that means you're screwed.
Yeah.
Let me explain it to you in a different way. That means you're screwed.
Yeah.
That means the people, and we've had this all over the world, by the way. Don't think this is unique. We know this game.
Yeah.
I was in Baghdad. There was a group of people who were in charge. And it was a cult of personality and a gang.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. It was nothing else. It was not really any kind of Arab pride or Iraqi pride or bullshit pride. It was about power and control.
Right.
And right now we are in it. And now they're using all these dumbasses out there who bring their guns to rallies and shoot people and kill people.
Yeah.
You are basically putting them in the limelight. You're going to end up in jail for the rest of your life, but you are putting them in power. They don't give a goddamn shit about you. They're not going to.
No, they don't.
They're
They
not going
don't.
to take care of
And
you.
you, I think, have a very unique perspective growing up where you did. And then coming here thinking, oh, it's the land of the brave and the home
Oh,
of the
for fuck's
free.
sake, yes. I've been saying that for a while. I was like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. Well, under Obama, you know,
I was
we
like,
also,
I'm back there again. I have an Iraqi passport. I can't travel.
right.
I can't leave. I used to think, you know, one of the reasons I came here, I was like, this is my home. I grew up here. I was a young kid. You know, I am more American than I am Iraqi. This is my, I'm the all-American kid. You know, I eat McDonald's. I play. I love football. You know, just hang out. I love cookouts. But this is too much. This is not the country I fell in love with. This is not my home. My home.
It's not the country I was born in either.
Yeah, my home is free.
Yeah.
I used to boast. I am an American. I am free. I cannot say that anymore. It's very difficult.
No, it's an embarrassment. I'm an American.
Yeah,
when we travel,
we can't even travel.
We put
Can't travel anymore.
We put Canadian, before the pandemic, we would put Canadian leaves on our backpacks. So people would think we were Canadian and not American.
Lucky
it was so embarrassing.
Canadians can travel. We cannot travel. We can't leave this. We can't even be quarantined. This is how bad it is. Nobody wants to quarantine us. Every other place in the world, they quarantine. Like if you go from Switzerland to Italy, you get 14 days quarantine. So I don't understand why we can't go and get 14 days quarantine. They don't want us.
No.
You know why?
Hawaii doesn't want us.
No, but he did it on purpose, though, Elizabeth.
Yes, of course.
This is systematic.
So you think,
cut off these people.
Let me ask you, you think it's not just Trump being insane like King George, this is willful evil in your mind?
Stephen Miller, Stephen Bannon, all these guys, that other nutcase, who came out of jail saying, "Oh, you should never give it up. It's yours." Whatever his name is.
Stone.
Huh?
Stone?
Stone.
Roger Stone?
Roger Stone.
Yeah.
These are the evil magicians behind this switch.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a witch.
Yeah.
He wants to burn and pillage. He
So,
wants to take
so
revenge.
what do we do?
Never has hurt.
What then? Tolstoy said, looking out at the ravaged poverty in Moscow, Tolstoy said, what then must we do? We're not looking at poverty. We're looking at evil in our country. What then must we do?
Well,
that's a rhetorical question.
Well, we must stand.
Yes, yes.
We cannot let our brothers and sisters be dragged off in the streets and beaten.
Right, right. No.
And those who are in our professional armed forces, which I respect a great deal, it's a professional unit.
Yeah.
This is a professional group of people. Many of them my students. Many of them are my clients. Many of them are friends. Yeah. They are a professional group of people. To use them, to try to use them against their own people is outrageous.
Yeah.
It's completely outrageous. We had, we have almost 200 commanders in the Pentagon threatening to quit or resign.
Yes.
Yes, no, it's gotten serious.
I know, but it could be political leverage.
Don't you think? You know, when you use Homeland Security, and as soon as they made Homeland Security, it gave me the chills.
I know, me too. I was like, oh, do we really?
That day, I was like, we really need. We have FBI.
Yeah.
We have local. We have state. We have federal. How many fucking agencies of intelligence do we need to protect our people? Do we really need a homeland? And that always scares me, by the way. That term, homeland security, because we had homeland security. They used to be called mukhabarat wa amin. They befriend you, they make you talk, and you say something stupid, and they throw you in. You know what the first thing they would do to initiate you into interrogation. You might have done nothing. They make you take off your pants and sit on a bottle. If you're a man. If you're a woman, they would rape you over and over again. Without you like saying, I am willing to talk, or I have, no, it's just humiliation.
Yeah.
So now that after all these years and all these traumas that I thought I've integrated, and then I watch this day after day after day on the border, these children screaming and crying. Like,
it's
so
horrible.
Let me understand this. We live on a continent, and we can't give these people where, people in the UAE have cards, they fly in, their population is like 2 million. They have 6 million people there. They're working. Yeah. They have ID status. It's like, let them work. Let them pay taxes. Let them live. Don't give them citizenship. Okay. It's like, oh my God, the value of citizenship, Elizabeth, we are going to make so much in Social Security, we're going to play big lotto. What are they talking about? This is ridiculous. What citizenship? What does citizenship give us exactly? What are you giving us? No, I mean, I understand if you're in Canada, they give you, all kinds of, what are you giving us? What are you holding back from these poor people? Give them a passport. Okay, let's throw it to them. What is it gonna? Well, they're gonna take all our socials. What social services do we have? I've worked in inner city. I've seen the social services. They scare me.
Yes, I know.
They're worse than Baghdad. And I've been to worse places in Baghdad, and I've seen better conditions than I saw on the south side of Chicago, on the west side of Chicago.
Yeah.
Come on. This is bullshit. Bullshit. We have fascists who are trying to take over this government. It's clear. They're stacking the Supreme Court. They have stacked. He boasts that he has He has filled more federal seats than any other president. Can you imagine the people he filled those federal seats with?
Mm.
Can you just imagine? A, they would have to be corrupt. Trump doesn't like them if they're not corrupt, then he can't have anything on them. Just in case he ends up in front of them. That's how he calculates. That's how his mind works. So they have to be corrupt. B, they have to have proclivities. This is what is the screening criteria for federal judge. If you want to be federal judge, white man, ages anywhere from 35 to 80. A history of not so clean worldviews, kind of on the edge, had quite a few harassments, questions against them, questionable things that they've done, declared bankruptcy 3 or 4 times, have had, but have law degree. Welcome, you're a federal judge now. Because we
Well, now, but at least now you can be a woman and be a federal judge. There are many of them, yeah. And there are more women now in law school than men, thank God.
Trump is picking you as a woman, I am scared of you.
I know, well, look.
Yeah, I'm just saying, great. That's fantastic, whether he's picking men or women or horses. But anything Trump picks, I'm scared of.
Well, yeah, both of these women are very right-wing Christian women that he's picked.
Their allegiance.
Oh, is to Trump.
Is to Trump.
Of course, like Kavanaugh.
When did we lose allegiance to the country? When I used to stand and pledge to the flag every day. What the fuck happened? When did we lose our... No, it's hurtful. It's really hurtful to see this.
It's horrible.
It's hurtful to see this. And on top
I think hopefully there are enough people who voted for Trump last time who didn't know what they were doing, who this time go, oh my God, what was I thinking?
You have to be overwhelming with the amount of shit that's going on. It would have to be overwhelming to overwhelm the stopping of the post offices and the stopping.
Oh God, I know.
And so on and so forth.
But anyway.
Back from kangaroo court to the people's court. Go on.
Yeah.
So,
but the point I was making about showing the depth of Jung's shadow in the play, and on the other side, Pauly refused to go with his student, Robert Oppenheimer, out to Los Alamos and make the bomb.
Yeah.
And Pauly left the American scene completely after the war because he said, I cannot live in a country that has materialized physics, has made it into a war machine. And there's the military-industrial complex. Speaking of a complex, right? So Pauly returns to Switzerland, and I think one of the most touching scenes is where he confronts Jung about what he did regarding the Nazis. And he said, I'm glad you changed your mind, but you did a lot of harm in the beginning, and Jung begs for his forgiveness. And in reality, this scene took place with a rabbi. There was a rabbi who came to visit Carl Jung out in Kuchnatz in his home. And Jung explained to him everything and apologized. And at first the rabbi wasn't even going to come visit. And then he said, oh, all right, I'll just meet this guy. But Jung said, I was so blind to my own shadow. And the rabbi said, I accept your apology. And then the rabbi stayed for 2 weeks. And the two of them went sailing together and talked and talked and talked about.
Very, very interesting. Yes, I've read that one. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I just heard today that the state of New York is thinking of putting restrictions on the Hasidic community in New York because they all refuse to wear masks because they believe in what Trump says. So my question is now is like, how do you not see the devil? He's been reincarnated in somebody. Why do
See,
you not?
that's the seizure of the complex. That's what you were talking about.
Yes.
When we are complex possessed,
Yeah.
and I believe that a lot of the Trump folks are very, very religious, probably for very interesting reasons in their families of origin. A great many people who are in recovery from addiction are very religious because it's what holds them together. A lot of inmates from prison and a lot of felons who get out finally need this religion to say, this is who you are, this is what you do, this is what you believe. And I think a lot of those people, and I don't want to demonize them, but I think a lot of them are voting
They've
they're
given up
complex because they are
but they're
complex bound.
You said they were seeing Hitler as God. They're seeing Trump as God.
Yeah, exactly.
Not much
Exactly.
different.
But that's being complex possessed. That is, and what Jungian psychology is hoping one can do eventually is to strip ourselves of these complexes and our egos. I mean, we all need a healthy channel from the ego to the self.
Tell me more about the stripping of the complex.
Well, the stripping of the complex means, first of all, that you realize it. You look at your mother that you've been angry with all your life, and then you say, but I say those things sometimes, and I'm not always the best mother, and I didn't give her credit for all the things she did, even though she was a raging, nasty alcoholic. I've been raging at times, and I've got to own my dark mother, okay? And then maybe I can see my own dark mother in many different colors, reds and blues and golds, the kaleidoscope that she was, the valuable human being that she was. But to do that, I've got to strip myself of my illusions about myself. That's another way of saying complex, is that the ideas we have about ourselves and the things that we automatically believe and react to that we've never examined. Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living.
Yes.
We must examine. And if we're conscious of the complex.
Socrates ended up like drinking hemlock in court because he refused to leave Athens. But anyway,
yes, he was true to the end.
Coming back to Socrates, no. Coming back to the axis of evil. So let me get this straight. So the Israelis, the Gulf Arabs, and Trump, are they not the axis of evil? Doesn't that feel like the North Koreans, Iranians, and Iraqis? What is they're not really functioning anymore. Now, what is?
Yeah.
What is the axis of evil now? It's United Arab Emirates, Bahrain. I was like, what the hell is going on in the world? I really am deeply concerned about where we are.
Yes, I am too.
I tell you because I feel the evil. We are in Seattle. I don't know if you know where we are. We are in Seattle on the West Coast. We are very far away from everything else.
Yes, we are. We are blessed in that regard.
We thought we were.
Yeah, we thought we were.
Smoke started choking us.
Yeah.
And then
shadow is everywhere. There's no place in the world without shadow.
And they're burning the planet to a crisp.
Yes, I know.
And for 8-9 days, we had a smoke cloud that covered this entire city. Okay, we're not even close to the fires. No, I'm just not kidding you. We are not even close. We are at least 100 miles away, and we had smoke that was choking us to death. So imagine where this is coming from. This is the entire West Coast is on fire. Trump goes to California. What does Trump say? God bless his tiny little, what is it, rock of a heart. What does he say? He says, there's no global warming. This is not the global warming situation. You just guys are idiots.
You're not managing your forests.
Well, you're idiots.
I
And
know.
in Trumpian speak, you're an idiot.
But speaking for a second of the
Yeah.
mental health perspective in all of this,
Ooh.
as a therapist,
Oh, yes.
every day, I deal with despair
Mm.
that people have lined up exactly what you've all just laid out.
Yeah.
You know, we're under the thumb of this dictator who's trying to completely demolish our democracy.
Yes.
We can't breathe. We can't walk outside because of the smoke. Thank goodness there was a great rainstorm just a few minutes ago,
Yeah,
and I
you can
can
thank
see
me.
blue sky in the distance,
And
right?
I've
So,
been praying from the
but
goddess
how?
for rain for 4 days. So she gave
Yeah,
us rain. I
yeah.
prayed for 30 days of rain, unfortunately, which means that we're going to be swimming in water for a while. So,
Uh-huh.
you get the good with the bad.
You get the good with the bad. But how do you, Lahab, how do you talk to your clients about how do you survive and get some sense of equanimity, some sense of inner peace, some sense of connection to a much larger perspective than this? Pema Chodron has just, last year, she wrote a book called Welcoming the Unwelcome.
Mm.
Love that title. And the whole book is really addressed to how do we take a stand with what's going on today. She never uses the word Trump, but you know exactly what she's talking about because she lays out all the evils that you just talked about. How do we see that, know that it's upon us, and say, okay, but I will see this from a bigger perspective. I will understand about polarization because one way or another, everything going on now is about polarization. It's about the climate deniers and the climate people who are freaked out about the climate. It's about all of this split
Mm.
that the
So
number theory actually
we
tries to
are healing
integrate in the
split.
four, right?
We are healing the split. We are working
Healing the
split
split with the four.
between the right hemisphere and left hemisphere. So in
Yes, yes.
advanced motor processing, which is
You've got to be able to experience it within yourself as a very grounded thing, even though it's groundless. That's the paradox. And again, everything about this is a paradox because everything changes moment to moment. We're all freaked out now. We don't know what's going to happen by November. We actually don't know. More calamity could come our way, but we can't control all that out there. And that's what makes people so anxious these days. There's no controlling the pandemic. There's no controlling this and that. What can we do? Wear a mask, vote. And we must do inner work is what I'm saying to you. And that's what I say to my clients. And we talk about using tools like not only meditation, but seeing the larger perspective.
advanced motor processing. That's what we do.
Yes.
We heal
Yes.
split. We
Yeah.
connect right hemisphere with left hemisphere. You know, this methodology that I came up with was this prolonged eye movement, eye desensitization with the intracranial, and plus talking about the complex itself.
Yeah.
What we do is we dive into the complex. We actually, I explained it to my students because they were under my counseling rotation. I said, this is anti-therapy. You are not calming them down. You are actually trying to excite them because what we are doing is the eye movement keeps them calm so they could connect the conflict. They need to connect the bridge between right hemisphere and left hemisphere so everything can cross. Right. So left hemisphere is not dictating, is not the dictator for the right hemisphere saying, oh, you poor baby, why don't you get off and do something?
Yes.
So, because the right hemisphere is in charge anyway, the right hemisphere doesn't know it's in charge, doesn't know what type of ill feeling it's putting into the left hemisphere. The left hemisphere dices it up into small pieces and says, this shish kebab, I am going to burn for you because it doesn't taste good. No. But now when you build the bridge with the eye movement, when you build that bridge, then your emotional part is touching your analytical part and suddenly you're freed up. The first thing I described is that my experience, I didn't talk about my client's experience, but my experience was I touched the floor and there was not a voice in my head. Zero. And that's never happened.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Nothing talking to you in the morning saying, oh, you have this, oh, don't you have that? Why don't you get this? Nothing. I walked like I was a drone into the kitchen. I made myself a cup of coffee. I drank coffee. I was like, what am I going to do today? I said, by the way, where are all the voices?
Wow.
Where is everybody? And
Oh.
realized that I was one. So what we do is part of the affirmations, what we say
Oh,
is I was many, now I'm one.
wow. That's it.
I
The
was many,
integration.
now I'm self.
Self. Yes. Woo.
My psyche is healed. I am self.
Mm,
So we do
mm.
those affirmations over and over again.
Yeah.
As the eye movement works, we keep pounding the affirmations as you speak. I am self. I am
Mm.
not afraid. And that,
Wow. This is amazing work you're doing.
thank you.
Amazing.
I look forward to kind of presenting it at the conference and talking about it in depth, because the results are amazing
Oh, I'll bet.
and it is transforming.
Mm, mm.
Actually work with so many disabilities. We could actually work with so many disorders. We
Oh,
have found ways to do so many different things. It's amazing. And
wow.
the results are, it's like people
Mm,
who, we had patients who had vertigo and panic attacks.
mm,
After one session, she said, I thought about vertigo 3 times. I said, did you have vertigo? She goes, no.
mm.
I thought about it 3 times. I said, that's great. Unless you have it, it's not there.
Yeah.
That's brain saying, oh, I missed something.
Mm, mm, mm. Wow. I can't wait to see your presentation at the conference. That sounds
Yes, no, for
amazing.
sure.
Yeah.
I tell you, Elizabeth, is quite, uh, it's quite fulfilling to watch patients heal in that way for years. I worked 20 years doing psychotherapy, and it was like such a fucking slog. It was killing me.
Mm.
I was like, why can't we speed up this process? How can we like move? Because people hurt, you
Yeah.
don't want to see them in the same space over and over again. This process speeds up so many different things that actually now they could psychologically start to have the dialogue without the emotional oppression.
So they are able to peel away the complexes almost dispassionately.
We blow it up. I
Oh,
think of the complex, what I tell the students is the way we do it is first you have to cross the minefield. So
oh yes, right. Yes.
you're going to have to blow every mine there is. Then
Yeah.
you reach the emotional ring around the complex. Now
Oh,
you're going to have to blow that up.
right.
So, my mother was a really nice lady. My mother was, she was 5 when father smacked her across face. Okay, great. That's all great. And I agree. Mother has a history and should be, you should have empathy towards her, not the complex.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
complex
Right.
needs to be blown up. So we
Right.
push. So every time I push, my students like, Dr. El Samurai, that's not what you said in counseling. I said, yeah, it's different.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
not doing counseling.
Yeah.
We are targeting the emotional center. We had a case where the person was saying, oh, ball is too fast. Stop ball. I said, what's the problem with the ball? You can't lie when the ball is going. Oh, ego is like,
Yeah.
make it go slower. I could like help you. I can't. Why is it so fast? I don't think this therapy is working. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, yeah, it's working just fine. Just keep going. Yes, I understand, but I want to talk about the ball. I said, yes, that's not why you're here, right? You're not here to talk about the ball. Why is so the ball is like going back and forth. What happens is the first 4 minutes, your brain starts to see it.
Yeah.
Not seen by the eyes anymore.
Mm-mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
I do.
is like he was arguing with it like in the 50th minute. His eyes cannot say. It's like, I still have a problem with this. It seems, I mean, I'm being irritated. And then they would split off. They would go into like another dimension for a while.
Oh yeah.
5-10 seconds.
Dissociate. Yeah.
And I would like, repeat after me, I am self. And then we'd go through and it's like, well, I don't understand. Just repeat after me, I am self. So what happens is then they come back. I've had several different clients. I had actually one client who wrote a complete case history for herself. She's a mental health therapist.
Mm.
Said, I have had therapy for years, years and years and years. It relieved body pains. Her body is starting to heal.
Oh, oh, because her mind is healing. Her
Right.
emotions are healing. And
Right.
the
No,
emotions are in the body and the mind. Oh,
it's connected.
my God. Well, you should go all over the world teaching this, yes?
You should come to our training group. I'll send you a Zoom link on Sunday. I'm introducing our new certificate program. We're going to be teaching the methodology again.
Oh, my God.
Come,
Wow.
check it out.
Woo.
And see what we're talking about. Anyway,
Let me, I know we need to wrap up probably pretty soon. Let me end with, or we don't have to end, but you keep asking me about.
you're always in a hurry to end, Elizabeth. You know I can't end these things very easily. You know my
About von Franz. So I was going to give you another.
The love of my life. Yes, please speak.
Probably the longest speech she has. It's her talking about someone else though, but I'll. Around this time, I first met him. Even before I knew his name, Wolfgang Pauli, I knew he was from another world. He walked very fast, as if trying to catch a train that would never stop. Can you imagine the dueling forces within him? He created chaos wherever he went. Windows shattered on his approach. Machines exploded. Cranes fell from the sky, never harming him, but making chaos with everyone around him. My guilty pleasure was imagining what took place in those analytical hours between him and Dr. Jung. What? I can't hear you. You muted yourself.
She's so inquisitive.
What did you say? You muted yourself.
He's so inquisitive.
Mm.
Inquisitive.
Mm. There's one part here. Let me do this for you.
Who's looking for another question? I like the hat.
Well, this is 18-year-old Marie-Louise von Franz when she first meets him.
Oh,
Carl Jung.
I can see how.
See, and
I could see libido all over the story.
Well, she comes rushing in and she says,
I hope you and Anne are ready to show a lot of libido because that's a lot of libido at 18.
Yeah, oh yeah, lots of libido. So let me just give you this one little tiny speech because he says,
is she like thinking? What is she doing at this time at 18? She was probably
a student.
Latin texts.
And she came with all these other boys. She was the only girl who came to Kuchnaz to meet Jung. And Barbara Hanna introduces her. She comes on and she says, "Are you really Dr. Jung?" And he says, "Oh, yes, ma'am." And then he asks her, "What are you really curious about, Ms. von Franz?" And she says, "Oh, everything. What are we made of? What is the substance of our minds, our hearts, the stars? Who are we beneath all of this silly jealousies and trying to figure out what we want in the world, all of our greed? Who are we meant to be? And how do we find our dearest, deepest mind and bring love and justice into a violent world?"
With that, I'd like to. No, just kidding. Okay, hold on a second. I thought that would be a great ending, but
yeah, you can end it there.
It's fantastic to be with you, Elizabeth. It's always good to talk to you.
It's wonderful to talk to you, and I can feel passion in every single syllable that comes from you.
Oh, and I feel it in you too. And I love this von Franz uh, this, play. This is fascinating. I look forward to seeing all of you and Dr. Blake.
Oh, yes.
And I look forward. Dr. Blake is also presenting at the conference. So
Oh, great. Wonderful.
yes, and she sent me an email saying, "I have not heard from you." I was like, "Hey, take it easy. I am trapped at home. If you want to find me, you know my address. Welcome."
Yes.
Anyway, so we are here. There's nothing we are not here doing. Thank you, Elizabeth Clark Stern, for today's interview. I found it fascinating, and I appreciate your friendship and your time.
Oh,
Would you like to say goodbye to our listeners? Anything, any thoughts?
well, goodbye, my listeners. And I hope you enjoyed our very spirited dialogue today. And I am most grateful for you, Lahab, that you are on the planet here in Seattle at this particular time in our history.
Hmm.
Um, I don't, I don't believe that it's an accident. I think you're meant to
I don't
be
believe in
here.
accidents. I think Young
Oh,
said, "I don't believe in accidents."
no, it's
I
synchronicity.
only, yes, synchronicity.
Yes. And
Yes.
see, synchronicity, one last little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Synchronicity is, you, in Jung's mind, it was one of the ways that you could tell that psyche and matter were so united, you see.
Correct.
He wrote this whole piece on synchronicity, and he said, in our dreams, in our moments, even you and I meeting accidentally, supposedly, at the Jung Christmas party last year, that was synchronous. That was
Yeah.
saying
No, it's
the
meeting.
swirling stuff of the world and human flesh and bones and brains are connected to the psyche, and the
Correct.
unconscious is in charge, not us. We must remember that.
We live in a field. We live, as I like to say, on this living, psychologically minded, uh, extraordinary planet
Yes,
that is an organism, and we are tiny little microbes on this fascinating organism, and that we have done so much damage to it. It's amazing.
yes,
And it's fighting back. We
yes,
are only parts of what it is. I like to think of us as just pieces on this planet. We should be coming together as a group. We should be
yes.
loving each other. We should be taking care of each other.
Oh,
That's
yes,
what I tell all my students and my patients is like, take care of the people around you, spread your
yes,
wings, be empathic,
yes,
hold out your hand to people you're scared of, and
yes.
life will be a little better. We need to push it. We need to push the agenda of that we are one group on this planet. And if we hope to save it for those little kiddos that we are
Mhm.
bringing in,
Yes.
otherwise don't bring them in. If you are planning not to do anything or help them in any way, don't bring them in. We have
Mm-mm.
a lot of people who want to destroy this planet. Don't
Mm.
people who on this planet are just in pain.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think this was a heavier duty podcast between us, Elizabeth. Maybe we could make a lighter one next time.
Okay.
After the fascists lose.
Okay.
Back
Okay.
with Elizabeth Clark Stern after the fascists lose to celebrate a
Yes.
new beginning.
Yes.
So with
Yes.
that note,
Yes.
Dr.
You're
Rahman
on.
Samurai, and thank you very much for being with us for another episode of the IFC's Individuation Podcast. Until next time, thank you.